This video will address the procedures that exist for Phoenix police officers facing an internal investigation and how the proposal passed by Phoenix City Council on February 25th, 2020 may impact internal investigations going forward. Garcia's plan, as initially passed, still has a lot of unanswered questions. No one knows exactly what it will look like in the end, as many details are still under consideration. What we do know is that his proposal will create a dueling investigations model, where investigations for certain incidents, yet to be defined, will be conducted simultaneously and somewhat independently by both internal investigators, the Phoenix Police Department's Professional Standards Bureau, and other city employees from the Office of Accountability and Transparency, referred to as OAT or OAT. Under this proposal, both OAT and PSB investigators will be present during witness interviews. Both OAT and PSB investigators will ask witnesses questions. During the interview of the involved officer, both OAT and PSB investigators will also question the officer. Then OAT and PSB go their separate ways. OAT and PSB both write draft reports. When both reports are ready in draft form, an investigative review process, an IRP meeting, is scheduled. Meeting participants will discuss the findings of both OAT and PSB and receive employee feedback. At this point, OAT sends a report to the Chief of Police for her consideration, including what OAT recommends for discipline, if any findings of misconduct are sustained. For PSB, on the other hand, the investigation doesn't stop there. If the case involves a use of force, officers go before a use of force board, including civilians, a peer, a commander, and an assistant chief. If PSB sustains an allegation that recommends significant discipline, then officers most often receive review from a discipline review board, a panel that, again, includes civilians, peers, a commander, and an assistant chief. Now, don't get me wrong, the Garcia plan is bad. It creates an us versus them scenario between the reports of trained internal investigators at PSB and a report written by civilians that may not have law enforcement training or experience. But this isn't the end of the story. Even if Garcia's plan is fully implemented, there are a number of legal protections that still exist for Phoenix police officers, based upon Phoenix's charter and the Arizona Peace Officers' Bill of Rights. First is the notice of investigation and the disclosure of pertinent materials. Because officers are expected to adequately address any allegations against them, they receive notice as to what the investigation is about and are entitled to review any relevant and readily available materials related to the allegations, in most circumstances, prior to the interview. Under state law, all discipline against the peace officer must be supported by just cause. In Phoenix, citizens decades ago established the Independent Civil Service Board, which allows virtually all non-probationary Phoenix employees the right to an independent hearing conducted by a trained hearing officer and reviewed by a panel of civilians for any suspensions of 8 hours or more, or demotions or terminations. To summarize, know this: Garcia's plan will weaken law enforcement in the city of Phoenix. It will pit competing interests against each other. It is the exact opposite of what ASCOPS, PPSLA, and others value, which is partnership with civilians in bringing the police department forward. But that said, all is not lost. Significant procedural protections remain based upon the Phoenix Charter and state law. I and the organizations that I work with will continue to fight for due process protections for police officers. I know that there are many friends of law enforcement who are committed to common sense solutions to make sure that investigations are well informed and fair. As information continues to develop, we will keep getting information out there for you to consider. In the meantime, I would encourage all law enforcement officers to keep doing their jobs. Serve your community with pride. Know that the vast majority of the population supports and appreciates you. And know that, in the end, lawyers like me and organizations like ASCOPS and PPSLA are working to build and maintain protections that will bring the vast majority of the community together in partnership, not opposition, to the police department.